Okay, folks, thank you very much. Great to be here. Just going to, 4 parts to this presentation, talk about the Collaborative Town Centre Health Check Programme in Ireland, what we've actually done. Want to talk about collaboration that's already underway. So we've been working with Phil Prentice and Scotland's Towns Partnership, really important. The benefit and impact of the programme, and then just say a wee bit about the 4 phases that I sort of envisage for this programme going forward. We're included in the programme for government, so it's really, really important that things are actually progressed and that there is action. So basically, in terms of setting up the programme, I started it up in 2016 because people kept coming to me in the Heritage Council and saying, please, is there anything that you can do to help our town centres? And I kind of waited and waited for the department or somebody else to do something, and then nothing really happened. So I just went ahead, had no budget at that time. And yeah, so basically it was about a year before we got a budget from the Heritage Council board, which was super. So yeah, UCD, Dundalk IT, Sligo IT, they're all on board. At the minute, we have 15 towns and we have 40 towns on a waiting list as of last week. 70 partners, so the Heritage Council, we're the lead partner. What we do is we focus on workshops to try and sort of, go through with the town teams that we set up. The CTCHC teams, we sort of go through the methodology. So we have a 15-step methodology, which I created in 2016. And really what we're trying to do is get everybody just to focus on this methodology and not to go off sort of, with arms and legs, to try and make sure that we're all working on the same standardized methodology. And then the CTCHCs, we're really trying to sort of, work with the EPA to make sure that this is included in their reports. Vacancy is not included in the State of the Irish Environment report. And then about 2 weeks ago, we had a workshop with the European Commission looking at the SCA directive. So yeah, it's very, very sort of action-based. And, in terms of awards, we've won the Bank of Ireland National Enterprise in Towns, Most Enterprise in Town in Ireland award twice. So that was Tralee and Letterkenny. And then we were hoping that Dundalk would win, but the local authority put in a different town. So how do we work? All right, so this is in terms of the 5 pillars, just a sort of a visual to say, how strong this collaboration is. I think when you start a programme with no budget, that actually sort of, the collaboration really does start to build quite quickly because there's no other way. So there's no fat in this programme whatsoever. We're all just, trying to get it done. Third level organisations, institutes have been so key to me from the very start. And I really just want to thank everybody who's been involved in that sector. Okay, then the government departments, we have 6 government departments involved. The Department of Health came in very sort of strongly about 2 weeks ago and said, right, we really want to be part of this programme. HSE, obviously, as you said in the introduction, it's about sort of health and well-being and how we come out of this pandemic. So, I mean, those 6 government departments need that relationship needs to be strengthened through the programme for government. And that needs to be done really immediately because the programme for government is moving very slowly. So one of the things that I had to do at the very start was to create colour coding for land use maps for building and land use. We didn't actually have this in Ireland, which I was quite surprised at, being a planner. So that was quite a lot of work, as you can imagine, to set that up, make sure everybody was happy with it. So like we don't do a desk-based survey or surveys, all our surveys are in the field, and that's the beauty of it. So going back to the Town Centre Health Check programme, because the demand for the towns coming in sort of grew quite quickly or very quickly, I had to break them into 2 groups. So we have the Border Towns network, and then we have the Atlantic Economic Corridor towns. So that's kind of where we're at the minute. And then the towns that are on the waiting list are mostly in the east, where I don't have any programme funding. Tipperary Town, just to say a wee bit about that, Minister English phoned me about a year and a half ago and said, will you help with Tipperary Town? So like 5,000 people in Tipperary marched in the streets and wanted help with their town centre. So systemic problems, data gaps. The beauty of the programme is that it's kind of shone a light on where the gaps are. Somebody said to me, you're like a drone flying around the place. So been called worse things in my time. But anyway, just to say that these are the data gaps that we're sort of finding. So when these 3 gaps work together, this is like the cumulative impact really of not having the data set. So there's not enough data on land use, floor space. There's no data on building condition. We don't have a building stock management programme like other countries. And also we have very little data, up-to-date data on ownership. So I've been told by the surveyors, for example, that there's 300,000 properties in Ireland without any title. So again, it's just trying to get those data sets created and make sure that they're working together. You know, we really need to sort of get going on this because we do have a massive issue. Like, I know you guys are talking about town centres, but we actually don't have the data. So this is a 15-step process. Again, can't really sort of spend too much time on it, just fly through these slides. Study boundary, land use survey is only one step of 15. Footfall, pedestrian surveys, business commercial surveys, consumer surveys. We're trying to look at supply and demand in the town centre. Rental surveys, ownership map, vehicle counts, car parking, accessibility, desire lines, environmental quality, air and noise, really, really important for our town centres because, as you know, the environmental quality has really been degraded in recent decades. Crime figures, report writing, launch of summary reports. So these are just some extracts of some of the reports that we've done. We've had ministerial launches. This is Dundalk's, Border Town, really important. You know, so this is sort of the extract. The consumers pre-COVID, obviously we're going to have to go in and start to survey all the towns again. We've already been sort of surveying throughout COVID. In Dundalk, they wanted their town opened later every night. They were very, very happy with the town centre, but they just felt that they needed more events. Just to say, a lot of the towns that we have in the programme lost their town councils in 2014. So we sort of focused on the county towns. This is Tralee, as I say, was the most enterprising town in Ireland in 2017. And what they wanted was their town centre open on a Friday night. The young people wanted to go into town. They wanted to have their museums open, all those kind of things that weren't open. It's all about that integration of town centre management, as we all know. They wanted more music. I was quite surprised now for sports events. The Kerry one's only 7%, and Tralee said they wanted more sports events. So if anybody knows GA in Ireland, the Kerry would be very much up there with the Dubs, with Dublin. Okay, and then Sligo, this is a report that we launched in October with Minister Noonan. Again, we did some surveys with COVID, so the commercial one focused on what's the impact of COVID. So yeah, just to sort of say, like, one of the really shocking things about Sligo, I suppose, which is bucking the trends, like Sligo, just their figures are always totally different to the pattern that we're finding in the other towns. So in Sligo before the lockdown, 63% of the shoppers did not shop using Sligo websites. So that was obviously of concern. Just a few stats as well. So the commercial survey for Dundalk, we found that the commercial sector in Dundalk, 77% were not selling online going into the lockdown, and Tralee it was 62%. So those were the figures that I had and knew about when the lockdown started. So it was very, it's quite upsetting for me, to be totally honest. Okay, and then we found as well in Sligo, people spent more online than they do actually in the town centre physically. So again, stats here, just a comparison. Denmark, so I've been to a few meetings in Brussels, haven't been recently, obviously. Denmark, they were sort of saying they were at 12% for ground floor retail. They brought in really strict policy, brought it down to 5%. The Dutch are at 6.8. Our equivalent obviously is not as good. So Tipperary Town was at 26%. We've just resurveyed it. It's actually at 31%. I'm about to do a press statement this week. Tralee, 25%, again, no town council. Dundalk, 24%, no town council. Yeah, it's just really interesting because, you know, on the upper floors, we're finding like sort of 80% as well. And just to say, I had a Dutch delegation came to Dundalk the day that we did the launch with Minister English in June 2019. And their comment when they saw our, you know, data and stats for this one part of the methodology was that we had a national crisis. My response to the Dutch was that if we don't have any data, we don't have a crisis. So that's really where we're at, you know, that our figures are quite worrying. And as I say, I started the programme, had no budget, and then the figures started to come in. So obviously I couldn't walk away from this. And all the people who were with me from the very start, like Phil Crow, Aoife Corcoran, Orla's been there right from the start. You know, it's just been really, really brilliant that we've all kept going because it's been tough going. Strengthening the Ireland-Scotland collaboration. Okay, so Phil Prentice and I met at a conference in London. I think we were on a panel together talking about towns and sort of leaning over and talking about border towns. So yeah, we were sort of trying to make sure that we did this right from the get-go. So as you know, Ireland has signed a bilateral agreement with Scotland on collaboration, but Phil and I actually agreed to do this before before that bilateral agreement was signed. So this is just an extract again from a report. When I say report, it's slides, 12 slides. So everything I do is very visual, excuse me. And I'm really lucky to have a graphic designer because at the minute I don't have any support staff. So everything is sent to the graphic designer and he's like a mind reader. So thank goodness for Ian Barry. Yeah, okay, so just a few more slides here. The benefits and the impact of the CTCHC programme is a data-driven programme. It's very much looking at evidence-based planning, really, really key. We're trying to look, you know, sort of value for money for the taxpayer. We're trying to support the commercial SMEs in those town centres. Again, June 2019, I phoned Enterprise Ireland. I said, who's looking after the retail SMEs in our town centres? And they said, well, we're not doing it because they're not exporting. So again, you know, we went into lockdown and our town centres were probably not where they should have been. Creation of social capital, public value. We need social cost benefit analysis in Ireland. We don't have the Green Book system in Ireland. And I come from Northern Ireland, where we had Peace and Reconciliation coming in 1998, and I worked as a consultant on that. And obviously we had the Green Book as well. Creation of local regeneration engines, really, really important. You can't do regeneration without an engine. And if you lose your town council, then you have to create that whole sort of infrastructure all over again. I'm also a great believer in participative democracy as opposed to representative democracy. It's really trying to get that message out there, that this programme is a programme. We are not consultants. We don't come in and start and end. We are about building and building better towns and building better communities. So it's about the regeneration of historic town centres, and it's a focus for the local communities and those pillars that I talked about earlier. Enhanced sense of place, civic pride, sense of belonging, all those kind of things.
Okay, so final minute there.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks. That's my last slide. Okay, so really just in the last few weeks, I kind of issued this visual. So this is really trying to show where the programme needs to go, where we are at the minute. So we're in phase 1 with 15 towns in phase 1, and we have 40 towns wanting to come into phase 1. And we need to take the 15 towns into phase 2, which is very much fitting in with what Malcolm was saying there, you know. So we're looking to do town centre building renewal plans with SEA indicators, strategic environmental indicators. Obviously, you've got sustainability indicators, but we're going to go with the EU directive on that. And then the IREO, the Irish Regions European Office, we had that workshop with them 2 weeks ago. They're very much trying to help us because obviously everybody's very concerned about the blockage. So yeah, I'm just sort of at that phase where phase 1 is just backing up, and I can't move into phase 2 without any support staff. Phase 3, again, housing, repurposing models, finance, taxes, whatever, fiscal incentives, disincentives, and then phase 4, which is all about maintenance, which needs to be created. And you can see there that UCD, Centre for Irish Towns, is on the right, so it's very much part of that European infrastructure. Programme for Government on the left, we need to set up an Ireland's Towns Partnership, and obviously Phil has been brilliant in terms of trying to sort of mentor what we want to do. But I mean, today I'd be really keen to hear how you deal with blockages and blockers. So that's it, really. That's, you know, it's been an amazing programme. As I say, we started out with absolutely no budget. Now we do have a budget and we're in the Programme for Government. So yeah, we just really want to keep going, and we just want to make sure that we do everything we can to regenerate our historic town centres.